In the heart of the Middle East lies the Islamic Republic of Iran. For more than 35 years, one man has stood at the top of its political system, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. As supreme leader, Khamenei's power has shaped the nation's politics, religion, and foreign policy since 1989. Yet in late 2025 and early 2026, Iran faces one of the most serious crises in its modern history. The question now is simple: will Khamenei keep his grip on power, or will Iran enter a new era? Who is Ali Khamenei? Born in 1939, Ali Khamenei rose through the ranks of the Islamic Revolution of 1979. He became supreme leader after the death of Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini and has ever since been the highest authority in Iran. His role is not like a president. He is above all branches of government, controlling the military, the judiciary, and the clergy. Yet, while his authority is so vast, his power depends on situations, especially the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps (IRGC) and public acceptance. Warning signs: economic pain and social unrest. Iran's people are tired. Decades of sanctions, economic mismanagement, and political isolation have left many struggling. Inflation soared, wages fell behind, and services like electricity and water became unreliable. By late 2025, surveys showed that a large portion of Iranians lived close to or below the poverty line. The economy's suffering is more than numbers. It is personal. Families face hardship every day. Students cannot find steady work. Shops close, factories idle. In this climate, protests began and spread. The spark and the streets. The last month of 2025 saw the largest wave of public protests in Iran in years. What began to demonstrations against rising costs and economic frustration turned into nationwide protests against the political system itself. By January 2026, international human rights groups reported hundreds of protesters killed by security forces, thousands arrested, and cities put under digital blackouts to control the spread of information. Streets in Tehran, Shiraz, Isfahan, and other cities echoed with calls for freedom and change. The mood had shifted from economic grievance to political demand. Women and youth, long at the forefront of Iran's social movements, stood visibly against the regime, demanding change and a future without repression. A regime under pressure, the protests tested the Iranian system in a way unseen for many years. The government responded with force, tear gas, arrests, and live bullets, deepening tensions instead of calming them. Meanwhile, inside Iran's top political circles, voices calling for reform or even system change have grown louder. Some government critics argue that Iran's problem are rooted not in foreign pressure but in poor governance and decades of policy decisions tied directly to Khamenei's rule. The regime's parliamentary elections and Assembly of Experts votes in 2024 showed declining turnout and increasing dissatisfaction with establishment candidates. Most notably, the president elected in 2024, while formally loyal to the system, has at times signaled a more pragmatic stance toward Iran's foreign policy and economy, sometimes diverging from hardliner positions deeply associated with Khamenei's circle. Foreign policy chaos and war pressures. Iran's tensions with other nations, especially Israel and the United States, dramatically shaped the leadership's public support and its critics' arguments. In mid 2025, Iran was drawn into a conflict with Israel and that lasted 12 days, briefly shaking the Middle East and exposing vulnerabilities in Iran's defense and foreign strategy. International critics, meanwhile, speculated that Khamenei's authority had weakened because of military pressures and international isolation. Some foreign media even reported on alleged evacuation plans by Iran's supreme leader in the event that internal security forces could no longer control unrest. Whether these reports are verified or not, they reflect a broader narrative, the perception that Khamenei's position is not as unshakable as it once seemed. The question of win or lose. So, will Khamenei win or lose? Here, it's important to be clear, history does not move in simple terms of wins and loses. Instead, we must look at balance points: power, legitimacy, and stability. Power. Khamenei still controls major state institutions, especially the security apparatus. The IRGC's loyalty is a cornerstone of his survival. Legitimacy. While state media promotes support, many inside Iran question that regime's choices, particularly after years of economic hardship and political repression. Stability. Protests show widespread dissatisfaction, yet they also reflect deep structures and fractures, not only against the government but within opposition movements about Iran's future shape. Opposition figures, both inside and outside Iran, are calling for systematic change. Some favor secular democratic governance, others propose reviving the old monarchy under figures like Raza Pahlavi. Yet no signal opposition movement has yet united all voices into one cohesive force strong enough to fully replace the old regime. This fragmentation, combined with the regime's grip on security forces, means that a complete downfall of Khamenei's rule is neither immediate nor inevitable. A turning point, not an end. What began as protest against prices has become a national reckoning, a moment when many Iranians ask, what does the future look like? Khamenei, now in his 80s, still leads, but the conditions around him have changed. Economic hardship, social movements, and global pressures have weakened the old certainties that sustained the Islamic Republic in earlier decades. Some analysts argue that the change is coming, maybe not tomorrow, but in the near future. Others believe the regime will adapt, survive episodic crises, and maintain power as it has for decades. In either case, the situation in Iran remains one of the most significant political stories of the early 21st century. What comes next? Iran stands at a crossroads between the past and the future. The question is not only about will Khamenei win or lose, but about what kind of Iran will emerge next. Will the people find new ways to express their voice? Will political reforms take root? Will the international community play a role? Most importantly, will hope rise amid hardship? Only time will tell. But for now, Iran's streets echo with a new kind of demand, not just for survival, but for a future chosen by its people.